You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Welcome, everyone, to Boomers Today. I am Cynthia Perthuse, and I'm filling in today for Frank Sampson. I am honored to have Dean and Kristin Sposato of Orchid Island Management Group as my guest today. Now, Orchid Island serves as a liaison with a family and their financial advisors, or their accountants, or their tax attorneys, or other professional contacts. Now, before we discuss how they were able to work with all these important advisors for a family, I think it would be really nice to understand why we all found each other.
Thank you, Cynthia. We're so happy to be here today, and we appreciate this opportunity. I was extremely grateful when I found you. We were working with one of our financial advisors who happens to have quite a large following up in the upstate New York area and here down in South Florida out of Jupiter, in fact. And he called me in somewhat of a crisis for his mom, who was over in the Naples area, and she had fallen and she had fractured her back, and he did not have any resources that he knew of who could assist her with the medical care or any of the post-skilled care and things of that nature. And so we have been in a relationship with them as a strategic partner. One of our services is to reach out in the event that our contacts need this type of service. So I was fortunate enough to have found you and your experts, and within an hour, you had everything up and running for him and his family. And he was eternally grateful. And we, continue this relationship, and he continues to seek out other things from us as well.
And I think it's important because we can think of you all as, oh, you're money people. You're only dealing with money people. But I think it's important to know that you deal with a lot of things. I don't want to say soup to nuts, but you deal with a lot of things other than financial. Is that correct?
Sure, yes. Hi, Cynthia, it's Dean. So we have four primary services that we offer. So we offer property management. So there's a maintenance and care program that we offer. And this is typically looking after homes for people that may be seasonal. So they're here maybe a certain number of months out of the year. We have a program where we would go in, we look after the home basically on a weekly basis, looking for and doing kind of a visual inspection, making sure that there isn't anything going wrong in terms of the air conditioning and the pools being taken care of properly. So we do an exterior check and an interior check. And we go back, we report anything that we see to the service providers, and we put service providers kind of on notice. Hey, we noticed the pool is not being taken care of. And then we're kind of that link back to the homeowner as well. So it's a peace of mind for them knowing that we're here and available to look after their property. In addition to that, we have a bill paying and bookkeeping service as well. So some of our clients, we provide and do all the bill paying for them. So not only for, it could be for one personal residence, or it could be for multiple residences, but it's a means of tracking their expenses for them, and reporting, and actually going and working back with their accountants as well. So when the year end comes, we have a nice, neat package of information that is shared with the accountants, and that is for all of the tax preparation that's done. And along with that is bookkeeping as well, that they kind of coincide and work together. The third service is trust administration. In the trust administration, we're working with a smaller trusts, but we can act as a trustee, a co-trustee, or an administrative trustee. So on the administrative trustee side, we would look after in terms of anything that had to do with the beneficiaries. So we could pay the bills for the beneficiaries. We can, for the trust, we can do all of the bookkeeping and bill paying. And there may be properties involved as well. So there could be a home or a condo. We're paying the association fees, all of that. And what we did was we created and set up this senior affairs program, which is basically a culmination of the other three main services that we're offering. And there we are really acting kind of as a liaison with family members for seniors that where the family members are not here in the area. And what we're doing is we're going to offer property maintenance and care. So peace of mind for the family, knowing that someone's looking after their mom or their dad in terms of the property. The bill paying, the bills being paid on a timely basis, so the insurance doesn't lapse. And we're basically going back and reporting to the family members, giving them kind of a snapshot of what we've done for the month, what's been paid, what needs to be paid, and just kind of acting as that, again, as that liaison and giving them a peace of mind that their loved ones are being looked after.
So let me ask you, I want to unpack this a little bit because there's a whole lot of things that you guys do. And
yes.
So first I want to clarify that while you're sitting in Florida, and so those of us who sit in Florida, whether regularly or occasionally, we understand the term seasonal. But this is for people who are all over the country. Our podcast reaches people all over the world. So seasonal for me, briefly, is just people who come for the season. They come for, they winter here, there's snowbirds here. But also, it's my understanding that you all can work anywhere in the country. So let's talk about the property management side of it. Do you work in other parts of the country and contract maybe with other people who can do that property management?
Absolutely. It's a very good point. So we're an outsourced service. In other words, we're looking and we collaborate with others. And that may be, as you said, in terms of the property management side, if there's someone that is outside the area. For instance, we had a client up in Chapel Hill, and that client decided, so what we did was, as a trustee, we had overseen that property, but they did have a local property manager in place. So we were another level, if you will, to overseeing that home and paying all the bills. But somebody, somebody on the ground basically that was checking in on the house. Obviously, we're not there physically, but again, we provided that oversight and that extra layer, if you will, of security and oversight.
Okay. So you're not actually going and cleaning the pool, are you, Kristin?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not doing any pool cleaning. Mine.
Great. So you get, I just want to make sure that it's really clear. I want people to understand that, again, you all are, in Florida, but doesn't mean that your business is not all over the place.
No, we're very knowledgeable about all the mechanics of all properties. And frankly, when I see a home, I know a lot about the pool. So I know exactly when the pool is looking the way it should be and when it isn't. So then we're just the liaison for the person who's taking care of it, making sure that they're doing the job that they need to do. Mm-hmm. And that is something that we apply to properties regardless of where we are. It's sort of like having an arm's length transaction for a homeowner or an elderly family, things of that nature. Like, we really are the ones that can be, I kind of put this lightly, but we can be the bad guy. We can make it easier for someone to tell them, you're not doing the job the way it should be done, or perhaps we're taking multiple bids or looking at bids for other services, taking a look at their pricing, taking a look at the project pricing, for example. That's key. We're alleviating that from people, for people who either are not in a position to make the decisions, or people who don't have the time to make the decisions.
Right.
So I want to add too, in terms of the bill paying and the bookkeeping, all done remotely. So, we have a couple of clients here that we do go, and I'll sit in an afternoon with them. They're local, but 99% of all the transactions that we're doing are all done remotely. And we have an environment where everything is hosted, and that can be accessed to any family members if they want to see what's being paid. So it's completely transparent. And our clients reside not only here in all of the states, but internationally as well.
So when you say you have an environment where they can see the transparency, are you referring to a portal or an app, or what's the technology?
Yeah, so typically what we've been using, our platform is QuickBooks. So QuickBooks is in a hosted environment, and if needed, we can create reports on our own, or we can give access to anyone in terms of a family member, or it may be an attorney, it may be someone else. Let's say, for instance, it's the advisor. And, the advisor could be looking at the transactions that we're doing. So again, transparency and peace of mind. So there's, we're just not locked in doing something on our own. And in addition to that, which is important, is at the end of the month, you get a bank statement. We reconcile the bank statements. This is very key. So the bank statements and the reconciliation can go back to whomever that may be. Is it the family? Is it an attorney? Is it the accountant? Whatever it may be, that's also made available.
Okay.
I mean, and as we talk about, like, it's fun to talk about what we do, because we do so many things, but they really do circle back into, a few key things. But having said that, when Dean's speaking of these types of things and I'm going through my mind, I envision all of our clients, and every client is unique and they have unique needs. And that's what makes this an enjoyable job as well, because every day is different to an extent, and every client is different, and each client has unique needs. So we can customize our services for each client.
Well, and
Like go ahead.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned that I loved, that it made me think, was you said, I was thinking about what we do. And I think what else is important in this is not only what you do, but what your clients don't have to do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So we're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a few other things that your clients don't have to do. Okay. So just
Great.
bear with me. We'll be back with Dean and Kristin in just a moment. So today's sponsor is Senior Care Authority, a national elder care consulting company specializing in senior living. With over 60 locations around the country, Senior Care Authority's team of certified senior advisors work in person with older adults and their families to find the best care and living options. Now, if you have questions or need help navigating the maze of senior care and living options, reach out to Senior Care Authority for a free consultation. And you can go to www.seniorcareauthority.com to find a local representative and get the help you need. So welcome back. One of the things I want to ask you about, and we're talking about other things that you do and how you help people not have to do things. You mentioned this, this trust administration. And I know that what we see as baby boomers in this world, and as our world becomes more globalized, we see what are called solo agers. The ugly term for that is a senior orphan. I don't like to call them a senior orphan. I call them a solo ager. And the reason that that is important is because they don't have people who are close to them who can be a power of attorney or can be a trustee for their trusts that they've set up for other families or other organizations. They don't have a fiduciary. I think that is something that you're talking about. Can you tell me how that helps with people who don't have anyone else in the world? I know you work with people who have other people in the world, but let's see if we can talk about people who don't have anyone.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very good point. So a lot of times, as if we step in as a trusted provider, in other words, as an administrator or a trustee, Okay, they're putting, or a fiduciary, whatever it may be, or power of an attorney. We're assuming that role, and we're taking full responsibility to make sure that whatever is going on, if you will, inside that trust, if there are distributions that need to be made, they're made monthly, they're quarterly, or whatever it may be, that we're overseeing that. So we want to give that person or that entity a peace of mind that they're in good hands. And in other words, there may be other trustees involved as well. So we're not going to act, we may not be acting alone, but a lot of the administrative part of it and the reporting, a lot of people don't know what they actually have, at the end of the month. That could be a means of, what their cash position is, or how well are their investments doing. So if they have multiple brokers or advisors that they're working with, and then every month they're getting a series of 6 or 7 different statements, well, what does it all mean at the end of the month? Okay, so, well, how well am I doing? So for us to educate them and help them through that process in terms of understanding what kind of returns they have, and also to be able to go back on their behalf to the advisors as well and say, look, you know what, even today, the way the market is this right for Mrs. Jones? Is this, is these types of investments right for her or for him at this point in time? So in other words, it does put them on notice as well, is that, there is someone looking after them, which I think is absolutely key. So if I'm looking at the statements at the end of the day or at the end of the month, and we can see what's being spent in terms of what kind of securities are being purchased, if any at all, or is the account just being, not managed at all? So I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And so if someone is really on their own, we have to step up to the plate and say, look, we're going to help you, and this is how we're going to help you, and kind of outline that. And that could be from a day-to-day basis in terms of helping them pay bills and things of that nature, and maybe a month to month or quarterly to quarterly. How is your funds? How well are they doing? How are your investments are doing? All of that, and give them the right package to feel comfortable that we're looking after them.
And in many instances, the individual may never have had to manage or oversee any of these things in the past. So in the event that they become left alone because they lost their spouse, things of that nature, and they're overwhelmed, and they just need some camaraderie, and they need to feel like they've got somebody at their side that they enjoy being with, that they trust.
And also I want to add too is we're there to provide, if we could always look for alternatives as well. I think that's important. So if it just really kind of goes back to looking after somebody's home. If the pool's not being done correctly and we noticed it, well, maybe it's time for a change. Well, on the trust side, same type of thing. If the investments are really not doing anything, and maybe it's time for a change, maybe it's a new advisor, or maybe a new management firm, something along those lines, that we can be more proactive rather than waiting for something to happen.
And I think in many instances, people get a little intimidated about cost and fairness, but this is much more cost effective than in other instances when you're working with other entities, perhaps at in the banking field, or an attorney, and so on and so forth. So this is a cost effective means too for the client. It's a little more gentler for them in that respect.
I also think you could serve, if I'm hearing you right, almost as a canary in the coal mine, if you will. I remember when my father had developed Alzheimer's, and we knew that he had Alzheimer's, but we didn't really know what it meant because we were busy, my sister and I. And and what really pointed us in the right direction, that there was a real problem that we were not aware of, was when this financial advisor called us to tell us that he had withdrawn lots of money 3 days in a row, and each time they asked him, it was to buy a car. So he had withdrawn enough money to buy 3 cars. Now we had a financial advisor that reached out to us, but not everybody has that, and so you could serve like that canary in the coal mine.
Mhm.
Correct. Absolutely. 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 And you know, we, and again, you know, we are one of our trust clients. They have about 5 or 6 different investment managers that they're working with. And it's the same thing, you know, we look at the reports, the monthly returns, and I'm constantly working with the other trustee and saying, look, you know, are we positioned right? Is this where we should be? So again, we're that next layer, or that additional layer, just kind of overseeing even, you know, the investment side of things. We're not investing for people, but again, we've got a great resource or resources to go to in the event we do need to make a change.
And there are other decisions that are made for that client. I mean, that client was younger, sold a home, needed to exit the home, and so on and so forth. So we were part of that process, which is something I was going to mention as well. For the senior clients that we have, in the event that they're no longer in a position to stay in their homes, we're working with the families on that plan, alongside anytime they need us to go in and out, to allow somebody to come in as they're packing and things of that nature, to coordinate the packing, coordinate the entrance for the potential realtor and buyers and sellers and so on and so forth, up to the point where the truck pulls up and, you know, they're leaving this home, and then, you know, it can be very sad, but the person's not in a position to be in the home any longer. So we've been alongside them up until the point that they couldn't be on their own any longer.
And, you know, as a senior advisor, I identified at one time that there were 33 different people who might need to help someone in their home as they reach the end of their age. And what I feel like I hear here is that maybe when I use your services, maybe I don't have 33 anymore. Maybe I only have really 10, and you're taking care of the other 23.
Yes, that actually is how it ends up going. Yes.
Right.
There's really nothing, in fairness, that we're afraid of. And if we don't do it ourselves, we're going to find the best qualified people who do that.
Right.
And in fairness, that's like how we found you. So we felt so grateful that we found you, and that's precisely, really, in fairness, what we did. And then you did the rest, which was extremely valuable to our client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we look for. We say that old adage of that we know an inch deep and a mile wide. So we don't know these things, but we know who to find that can do them. And like I said, you become close to a one-stop shop, not quite there, but close enough that it means I don't have to make quite as many phone calls when I'm trying to help my clients.
Right, exactly.
I mean, and like the baskets that we described, we are a mile wide, no question, you know, on a daily basis. And then in others, it's an inch deep, like you suggested. And so, yes, that's a great
So
analogy.
we're going to have to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people understand how to contact you. So I want you to tell me how to contact you, and I want you to tell me, and, you know, briefly in a 1-minute snippet, is there anything that I forgot to ask you, or anything that you thought, oh, I've got to make sure that the listeners know this about us?
Well, in terms of, you know, contacting us, there's several ways. Main phone number would be 772-321-3453. For email, it's info@orchidislandgroup.com. And the website is www.orchidislandgroup.com. And finally, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's important to understand and realize that we work with everyone's professional network, and we're kind of sitting in the middle. So we could be working with the wealth manager and the advisor. We're working on behalf of the client for elder care services. It may be the accountant or the CPA. So and we even work with other family offices as well. So our outsourced services allow us to branch and integrate with our clients' existing professional network. And I think that's really important here because no one is kind of singled out on their own. This is kind of a group effort. We're just in the middle, acting as that liaison and pulling the different levers that need to be pulled to get everybody all on the same page.
And I think another thing that we do extremely well is where our availability, our promptness, and our follow-up. The fact that you can call, it's going to be Dean and myself that are answering the phones, the texts, the emails, and so on and so forth. And I don't think anyone can provide a higher level or attention to detail than I think we do that extremely well. And that's always been our professional MO. So that's key because people really need to have responsiveness, and that's important for them. They don't want to be waiting for a call back and so on and so forth, or wondering when someone's going to follow up on what they're looking for and so on. So that's very, very helpful for our business.
Right. Well, thank you again, Dean and Kristin, for joining us. And I want to thank the audience for listening to us today. And again, this is Cynthia Perthuse. I'm here for Frank Sampson for Boomers Today. And join us next time as we navigate issues that affect the boomer generation.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.